Hello again, thanks for staying with us. Next up, our next and final fireside chat of the day, the future of Gen AI. My guest is Sabine VanderLinden, CEO and Managing Partner at Alchemy Crew. Welcome, thank you so much for joining us here at InsurTech Live.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. Lovely to be with you.
Absolutely. We've got a lot to talk about, As a key thread through all the presentations today has been the value and the potential of Gen AI into all aspects of InsurTech. For you, let's start with the beginning. Are you excited by the potential? Is it all hype? Where do you sit in that particular debate?
I think it's exciting, and I will tell you, I have to start actually with a quote, if you don't mind, which is a quote I've actually shared in recent week with a number of financial services executives, which is, when we are very young, babies, or when we are, able to use a smartphone, which we are using today, we are actually, this is part of our life, the smartphone, the iPad and all those things. Between 15 and 35 years of age, which I remember when I was a consultant, I was excited by the opportunity to do digital transformation. And that was a while ago. So imagine how long digital transformation has been on the horizon. But when we reach 35, anything new, we want to ban it. And the reason why I'm saying that is when I actually heard about generative AI in November 2022, I was concerned. I was really concerned about the fact that it will take away jobs. I was concerned about the fact that knowledge will be distorted. But now I've actually learned to be a proponent, because for me, it's about augmentation and it's about using it in a responsible manner. And I'm sure we are going to go into that. But for me, yes, it's not about the hype, it's about the potential. And the potential can go across the insurance operating model.
Yeah, I think one word you used there was absolutely critical, and that's come up a lot in conversations I've had with people from different business sectors, and that is augmentation. That's what it is. It's adding to what we can already do. So let's start breaking it down then. How do you feel Gen AI can be leveraged in different areas of the insurance process? Where do you think it's got the most potential to have real impact?
So I would say it's across the operating model of insurance. And the place I was able to test the technology for sure is in marketing. As we know, probably 80 to 90% of the innovation right now is in marketing. The reason is that we do not need to put clients' information if we want just to test the technology. And I think it's very important to know that generative AI didn't start in November 2022. It has been running probably for over 10 years. Average investment has been over the past years, 3 to 4 billion. And this year, 2023, will be the year of generative AI. We're estimating, I would say, 18 to 20 billion investment in the technology. I said 3 to 4 billion. We know that Microsoft put 10 billion into OpenAI. So there is 10 billion beside OpenAI investment, which will be put into generative AI technology solutions. So where it's going to be useful, as I said, marketing, imagine, you can actually personalize things for your customer. You can actually, through prompt, personalize content, really understand your customer segment, prompt against your customer segment. You can redesign complete website today with generative AI technology. However, where I think the insurance market is going to get the most advantage from it will be in area that we have been already seeing technologies such as chatbot and virtual assistant being used. Imagine Sabine being your virtual assistant, contextualizing thing, you have a face, you have a voice, rather than just having to chat into a box. So that is where we are going into when in terms of claims and servicing environment. Think about underwriting. I know risk assessment is still very new, but if you actually better understand your customer and you're able to leverage artificial intelligence in new ways, we should be able to quote and price in real time in a much more personalized manner as well. I think in the sales and distribution environment, the opportunity will be for sure for agents, enabling agents to work with insurers, underwriters, and actually become advisors, being able to provide their customer with a real-based advice, bundle product and services together based on the customer needs. Generative AI can actually have a massive impact, I think, across the insurance value chain. I forgot finance and accounting. Think about financial accounting or, people just balancing the books. Today, they need to become far more financial strategists, financial specialists, and actually, I would add ethical compliance officer. What we will see across the board is that many businesses will want to invest in responsibility in using AI technology and ethical roles, underwriting, compliance, finance. All the roles which are very much monitored by the regulator will probably have an ethical angle to them.
Now, the ethics and responsible use is something I want to get into in just a moment, so we'll just park that for one moment. Just digging a little bit further into some of the things you were saying there, do you feel the real value will be in streamlining and making things a little bit more efficient, not necessarily revolutionising a process for a customer, just evolving it, giving less friction to speed things up?
In insurance, yes, it will be about evolution rather than revolution. It will be automating. When we talk about artificial intelligence in general, we look at three things. The main area that businesses have been looking at deploying artificial intelligence is automation. Think about RPA, I mentioned virtual assistants. It's about automation. But what artificial intelligence can do is also analysis. Think about your profiling, really understanding your customer segments, communicating effectively with those customer segments. That's fall into the analysis, the marketing, the segmentation angle. The last bit is engagement, customer experience, customer engagement. I remember the age and time when I was doing next best action, which were probably 10 years ago. We are going to be the next phase of next best action activation, where a process is completely seamless. It's providing on the mobile device, and every interaction which has been built is being thought through for the user, for the customer. So I would say three: automation, analysis, and engagement.
I have had some questions coming in, which I want to get to quickly before we push on with some of the other things I wanted to talk about. One specifically about risk assessment. How do you feel AI can help with that, specifically in risk assessment?
So for me, in the sphere of risk assessment, I can see enhanced risk profiling. So imagine, when you're on the actual underwriting sphere, you still need to get a better understanding of that customer. So really understanding your different customer profiles from a portfolio level, then from a profiling level, and then being able to allocate capital in the right way. Then, we are moving from static to dynamic. So I can see pricing becoming much more dynamic, much more real time. We've seen that in personal line in some way of shape, right? With embedded insurance, we are able to do pricing much more by the month, by the moment. And I think it's not going just to be in personal line insurance. I think it's going to go into commercial and also into life and health based on the risk that we are actually dealing with. I would say advanced fraud detection will be another area to look into. And then, as you have all this data, you're actually able to do automated dashboarding, automating reporting, which allows you to be much more responsive. Those technologies and those approaches already used in marketing. And I think that is going to be propelled into risk assessment, into claims, the claims sphere, as well as other departments which are so crucial across the insurance value chain.
The next question, unfortunately, is from Anonymous. Do write your name when you write in. We always like to say hello in person if we can. They ask, how can AI further streamline embedded finance offerings? Embedded insurance offerings. How do you feel that will impact in that particular area?
So when you look at embedded finance or insurance, to actually understand what embedded means is you have an insurance product which is going to be embedded into other distribution channels. So that is a basic line around embedded. So you have finance with non-finance, insurance with non-insurance players coming together. I remember working and being, really engaged with some of the great startups actually focused on that really topic. One of them, Belgium, very well-known Belgium, InsurTech, which actually quoted embedded insurance in 2015. People don't realize that has been going on for quite a long time. But their main customer were distribution. They were automotive. Their distribution were automotive companies. Think about Ford, think about BMW, think about Mercedes. So how do I see embedded working with artificial intelligence? Is artificial intelligence enable you to actually do those next best action, completely streamline, really understanding how to engage with your customer, regardless whether the channel belongs to you or not. And then it's about the business model. Based on whichever business model is going to be implemented, am I doing a SaaS model? Am I doing ecosystem-based business model? There are so many business models we need to actually think about when we look at ourselves as a company or a company amongst other companies to drive value to one single customer. All those touch points needs to be managed, and they will be automated, partly with artificial intelligence capabilities. Some will be generative, some will just be basic machine learning capabilities. And I want to make sure people realize generative AI is just one form, a large language model, right? Based on a foundational model. It is just one form of artificial intelligence amongst all the different artificial intelligence capabilities which are there.
Now, I freely admit I've avoided this question so far because it is the big one when it comes to AI insurance, I believe, a great deal of the time, and that is ethics and responsible use of it, because this, for me, is where it could all go horribly wrong with the questions of bias and, well, it's a whole can of worms, isn't it? Is that an area that concerns you at the moment?
100%, and concerns every insurance companies out there. So I know a lot of insurers have already hundreds of use cases they are looking at within this sphere of generative AI. How many they are going to put in productions are very few, because we always are looking at the ethical aspect of this. And when we think about ethics, we think about, just for a moment, where is generative AI technology coming from? This year, AI as a sphere, as a topic, is going to do okay. It's not going to grow. Actually, it's going to go down. The area which is going to grow in 2023 will be generative AI. As I mentioned, 3-4 billion over the years is going to be around 18 to 20 billion this year, 10 billion after the investment from Microsoft in OpenAI. Where are those investments coming from? 63% from the United States, around 10% in Europe, 28% in Asia. What does it mean? Very polarized. And what also that means is the design of those models tend to be, wide country, advanced market related. So we just need to get some little bit of diversity in those models. So we have a problem around bias with the models being developed. I use a lot one platform called Leonardo AI just to do my design. And have a guess, if I put entrepreneurs, the entrepreneur will be a man, a white male usually. And so you can see there is already a lot of bias into the technology. And so you have to qualify, you have to prompt in a really focused way to actually avoid those biases. Now, some companies are really working, and think big tech. I've written quite a few articles now around big tech and generative AI, if you want to look at media. But big tech is working really hard to address that responsibility and these ethical issues through alliances. But the way you would actually want to deal with it is making sure first that your data is clean and centralized. Second, that your large language model, your foundational models are built in the right way. You want your basis of the models which are going to drive your generative activity to be clean. Then you will want to make sure you have the right governance framework around it. And very few companies right now, and I'm not going to mention any companies on this discussion, but very few companies are dealing with governance right now. And so that is where most companies need to focus their effort. It's not just about the great data and the great AI, it's actually about the great governance. And as we know in Europe, we have the European Commission, the European Directive around AI. We have now generative AI as part of those principles, which means that they need to be responsible, trustworthy, explainable, transparent, and so on and so forth. So building model is not just the sake of building models. They need to reply and they need to comply with the regulatory framework as well.
Yes, the regulations are absolutely critical. And something else that's critical is what I'll finish with, is something I've always been very keen today not to forget, and that is the customer. It's very easy for us to talk about all of this fantastic technology, great progress, but never forgetting about the customer who's having to use it at the end. For you, why is it so vital that any AI technology that is used, any Gen AI technology that is used, is focused on improving things for the customer and not just being there for the sake of it?
We have to always start with the customer in mind. I think it's not just insurance, it's any industry. Product and services are designed and built for customer to buy. And we just want to make sure that the customer are buying the services and the product, which are much more, absolutely aligned to their wants and needs. So for me, the world I'm living in, which is corporate and startup and growth ventures, everything starts with the world of desirability. Is there a customer? Does the customer has a need? And is there a business case for that customer to buy things, regardless of technology, cloud, quantum, generative AI, all those technology are enablers to actually fulfill the needs of the customer. I think we need to remember that technology are enablers, they are automating, and they're actually enabling us to have streamlined relationship, streamline engagement, and engagement the customer want, right? Which are often on the mobile device, iPads, smartphones, and so on and so forth. So the customer need to be at the center of every design. The advantage of generative AI is now we also have product design generative AI technologies, right? Only focused on, that real-time customization, enhancing the risk modeling, providing dynamic coverages, speeding the testing and the iteration. And the point you were making just now around bias identification, there is technology already able to do that from the code angle to producing the app. But again, the customer need to be at the center of any design and development.
Absolutely. Sabine, I could talk to you all afternoon about this. We could keep on going, but we are nearly up to time. I'll just give you a moment of a shameless plug, if you like, for the podcast, Scouting for Growth. I guess this is a key issue that keeps on coming up for you.
Absolutely. My recent podcast have been around responsible AI, responsible chat, GPT, talk to amazing people as well, expert in artificial intelligence. So, I'm very fortunate, Scouting for Growth is around top 50 in the UK. As a podcast, I've done very well. And doing 200, I'm around 200 in the United States. But the interesting thing is people approach me to be on the podcast, and then I can select. I don't have to do that much work. But recently, yes, everything has been around AI and generative AI.
Yeah, that is the dream with guest booking, and you'd be very welcome on InsurTech Live again. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciated your company today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.